I never updated. I forgot when I was cleaning and moving my stuff around. I didn't move the what is it? What is this thing called? The sound thing back. So this whole time I was talking and I was talking that good stuff and y'all didn't hear me at all. Man, yeah, see, now it's coming through. Yeah, all right, let's go ahead and close that. Brev. Jesus Christ, man. But the crazy thing is that we've also looked like we fixed the encoding issues. So yeah, I'm not getting the encoding thing anymore, right? So maybe that's what it was the whole time. The whole time, like I was just doing software and it was bottlenecking somehow, somewhere, in some place. I don't know. Um. Anyway, though, all right. So let us move on, right? So it looks like, yeah, this looks good. This looks good. Yeah, looks good to me. It looks good to me. So okay, so let me recap it. Maybe it was a good thing you guys didn't hear that, right? Because I was talking a tiny bit of politics stuff in the beginning that I probably want to save for tomorrow's stream, which I think I am going to do. So we'll just ignore that. But just as a even quicker recap, because I don't want to go back over it, right? Last time we went over Microsoft Entra ID, and then we went over the how the create, configure, and manage identities, right? Which Microsoft Entra ID was just like an extension slash replacement for Active Directory, right? Can add a lot of things in addition to you using Active Directory if you use Active Directory, right? And it also has the full functionality to be a complete replacement, my understanding, right? If you wanted to use it that way, but it differs a lot from Active Directory and like the whole host of features and functionality that it adds, like dual factor authentication, OAuth support for like authenticating yourself through other platforms and all that good stuff, right? And then the identities thing, right, was just the stuff like creating users, creating groups, how to assign licenses to the users, to the groups. And then the only thing that was just seemed to be important to me was just like scenarios and when you're dealing with that stuff, because because licenses can have things like conflicts where one license already contains products in another license, and you can't have two licenses with the same product on the same user or group. So that's a problem. And then the other like prominent scenario I remember seeing was dependency errors. So like for example, the example I gave was Skype, right? You have two licenses, one for Skype and another one that allows you to use the voice calling feature in Skype, right? Like let's say like you could dial directly people's cell phones instead of just doing video calls, right? Well, if you was to then all of a sudden take away the Skype license, it'll hit you with a dependency problem because the voice license requires Skype, right? Because otherwise it's not like it can work by itself, right? You can't, you don't just call somebody out like using nothing. So you get a dependency error and it won't let you remove it, or you'll have to, go through whatever hassle to do so. Um, that was that. I can't really think of anything else. So now, yeah, so now we're gonna pick it back up where, oh my gosh, bro, I'm tired. We're just gonna pick it back up. I'm just checking my emails real quick here. I'm just hoping NVIDIA, man. I'm waiting for NVIDIA to um hopefully NVIDIA picks me for me to be able to have an opportunity to buy the 5090 because I signed up for the thing. Sent to wrong address. Okay, cool. So I'm getting my refund on that. Then they closed it. And then they're telling me, okay, it's cool. So these SSDs, which I'm gonna have to test when I get them to make sure they're actually real, are almost in. So the I bought the 1 terabyte SSDs off of Amazon, so I'm pretty sure they're pretty fine or they're good. And I just bought more. I didn't have a choice because since these other Chinese products are fake, I had to make a refund request. Now that's going to take however long it's going to take. And okay, cool. So yeah, see, and they accepted my thing. I just gotta return those M2s. So I have no problem giving it a shot because sometimes you never know. I have gotten some very good cheap stuff that's like suspiciously cheap. You like, ain't no goddamn way, right? But then you sit there and you get it, or you get it, you test it, and it's completely legit. Like it's completely legit. And so I'm trying to think what I got. I had these um this, for example, this network card thing I got. I have a PCIe. We're on a technology stream, okay? So I can do this. I have a dual port network card, right? It's a network card. It's a PCIe lane network card, right? So it goes into a PCIe slot. It's dual ports and it's 10 gigs. So it's a 10 gig dual port PCIe card that also has M2 slots built in, right? 2 M2 slots, and it says that the thing supports up to 4 terabytes for each slot. That I got for a suspiciously cheap price. I don't remember, but I think it was like maybe like 130 or something like that. That is going to go a very long way, right? If I could just get legitimate M2 drives, then I'd be in good shape. But and the thing with the M2s too is that, I think about it, they gotta be what's the word I'm looking for? They gotta be ones without the heat sinks, because the way the cards are designed, you're gonna place, like, you're gonna basically like lay down like a heat sink on top of it, because then it has a fan that blows through. So it's like really cool. It's like really, really cool. And for cheap, right? That price, I wouldn't expect, because when I was looking for just like a single 10 gig port, man, an M2 to a 10 gig port, man, I was already like in 80s to hundreds of dollars. I was like, all right, well, when I saw that, I had to cop it, and it works. It worked perfectly fine. I tested one of them. I'm waiting on something to come in before I could test the other one, because of course I bought two, because of what I'm trying to build. But yeah, no, like the Chinese stuff, just make sure you familiarize yourself with the return process. They're not as simple as Amazon and eBay's. Amazon and eBay's, as far as like what I've shopped at, have always been the absolute best when it comes to returns. If you like ever have any problems or issues, Amazon might be the very best. But AliExpress is not too bad. Temu is really good. I would say Temu is actually really good about it. Probably getting close to like Amazon level, but AliExpress, yeah, AliExpress is just it can take time, and they just like have these really weird rules that just ends up taking long. And if you do it too soon, like you see that this is clearly a fake, or not fake, but like clearly something's wrong, or as a scam, like I've ordered stuff where it's supposed to be coming from China, and 3 days later it's delivered, and I'm like, yeah, right. And then a lot of times you can actually see too, because when they give you the shipping information, you can see that it's being delivered to the wrong address. So I'm like, okay, so this is clearly fake. If you submit a return request after you already have the verifiable information from the shipping company, whether that's FedEx or UPS, whatever, right, that shows is being delivered to the wrong address, you will have just delayed. If you submit your the refund request or whatever, you would have delayed your refund by a minimum of 30 days from that point forward, right? Because at that point forward, they're going to look at it, they're going to complain and says, well, it hasn't been delivered yet, so you have to wait, even though you see the order in AliExpress that says this is the address in state A, and you have the shipping information, which the order shows you the shipping, like the tracking number, right, that you use, and you pull it up and you give the screenshots, and it shows is going to be delivered to a completely different state. Don't matter. Don't matter. If you do it too ahead of time, they'll initially deny it, and then you have to wait. And the thing is they don't have no functionality to then like escalated, be all right, look, it just delivered, now can you actually do it, right? It's like then it has to actually wait 30 days before they actually take any action on it. And it pissed me off so much, right? So now you absolutely need to wait until the track information says delivered in order to avoid that debacle. But that's enough talking about that. Now let's get back to this thing here, right? So now let's go ahead and we're going to pick back up where we kind of left off. So changing user license assignments, and I'm going to open this drink up here, right? A friend of mine gave me these. Are very fancy energy drinks here, so I'm very tired. So let's see I've already had one before, like a day or two ago, and I was already having a bunch of other stuff, so I couldn't really tell. This one though, now that especially after I've already eaten and everything, and it's been a couple hours. Now let's see what we got. Ooh, my goodness. Kinetic blackberry lemonade. I'm saving the other one for another day, but this blackberry lemonade is pretty good. It's a good thing. I mean, I did rinse off. I already rinsed off the can, but sometimes you just got to double check and make sure. I don't know what that was. I thought I might have saw something, but it could have just been just a reflection. Or like, okay, so I definitely like the blackberry lemonade a little bit more. I think the first one I had was a strawberry one. I'll have to tell my friend when I get a chance. Um, yeah, see, my computer's acting so much more stable. Okay, so that's what it was. Both my capture card and the NDI feed were both not using hardware acceleration. So now when I get a chance after the stream, I need to bump up all the quality stuff that I reduced to now see if I can I can get all that back. But yeah, no. So all right. So now let's get back to it. So let's see here, right? And then the way I move stuff around now, y'all can't see it, but my tablet's right here, so I'll be able to write. I just need to find. I had writing gloves. I don't know where they went, but I'll have to dig for those someday. But I also moved my monitor, which used to be over there, is now right here. So it's easier for me now to actually look directly and be good. Okay, so let's create create another user. So it wants to make us another user, right? We already know how to do that. That's cool. Update user license agreements. Let's see, user license agreements, right? So browse the admin, and select the user, select licenses, update license assignment. I'm sorry, I said agreements. I must my brain must be dyslexic and I don't know it. All right, my personality and me is separate from my brain clearly. Let's see, in the left navigation, select licenses. On the update license assignments blade, select the checkbox for a single or multiple licenses. So yeah, and this is how you assign licenses. So wait, so in this license, then it has all the things to add in there. You can actually add or remove. It's kind of odd. I wonder if the license, I'm sure the licenses must cost money, but then I wonder if there's a reduced cost if you don't include everything for a particular user, like if you're paid per seat, per program or something like that. I don't know. Because then like in my mind, I think well, I couldn't see why you would go out your way to restrict access to programs and stuff to a particular user if it's paid for anyway, unless like for example, if you had a single team and in that team you had people do let's say you had two groups in that team that do completely different things, and you wouldn't want one group to have access to the software that the other group is using and potentially like conflict with like what they're doing with, which um is the only way I could kind of justify that, but then it just in practice doesn't even really make sense, like because you should have that level of control over the teams to begin with. It's not like they should be like editing shit they're not supposed to, like even by mistake, right? Because if the two groups do two completely different things, then and then that's the anti-argument against that, right? Because then like, well, now you got to go through extra steps or hassles if you want that somebody from that group to come work with like in the other group or something, or vice versa. Real quick. Okay. Security attributes. This we don't know about, so let's see what this is. So let's see, what is a custom security attribute? Custom security attributes in Microsoft Entra ID are business-specific attributes, key value pairs that you can define and assign to Microsoft Entra objects. These attributes can be used to store information, categorize objects, or enforce fine-grained access control over specific Azure resources. Let me read that one more time. These attributes can be used to store information, categorize objects, and enforce fine-grained access control over specific. Oh, so it's like the other thing. I don't remember what the name is, but basically, like it's just like an automated. I don't want to call it labeling, but that's like essentially what it is, right? You get it's a security function. It's a security feature where like when something is created, labels this is the best way I can explain it, right? So don't take this like the heart, but basically pretend like you create something and a label gets applied to it that says like this can only be used in North America, this can only be used by certain groups, this can only access resources from these groups, right? It's like basically just think of like it is like a label. It's like a labeling type of system that basically puts restrictions or requirements on that resource or thing in order for it to be able to be used or to be assigned or whatever, So that's what that sounds like. I forgot what it was. We was looking at this. We was looking at something else in Azure that was like really close to this. I just don't. It might have been maybe literally labeled right, called the same thing, but I just don't remember. Okay, why use custom security attributes? Right, extend user profiles such as add employee hire data and hourly salary to all my employees. Right. So yeah. So here's a data integrity. Data integrity was a big one too. I remember now, right? So like, see this, even this example right here, like when you create an employee, right? In order for you to successfully create an employee, it has to have certain information: first name, last name, email address, right? And then in this example here, they give you a hire date and salary, right? Because you can't, what you don't want is you don't want to have employees and then there be a data issue where some of these employees have missing information that would be important to know, like their salary, right? In fact, if I recall correctly, I think going into the news of politics a tiny bit, right? That thing with like Elon Musk complaining about or finding the people that's over 100 years old Social Security. Well, first and foremost, that's not even necessarily people drawing Social Security, right? Because if you actually read the 2022 or 2023 Inspector General report that noted the stuff, most of these people, what it is just I think it was just like bad data labeling. It was like something along those lines, but not to dive too deep into that part, right? The key thing was bad data, right? So like it was basically missing, like the data source was basically missing this information, like death dates or ages, right? Well, not ages, but like death dates or something like that, right? And so like that could be something you could easily fix by creating a security policy, right? Where you could be like, once age exceeds like 110, right? Then create error or create problem for like whatever to complain and be like, hey, now this other column of verifying person is still alive must have a date in it, right? And so then that triggers the Social Security Administration to then go find or reach out to that person to check to make sure they're still alive. And then once they validate it, then they can put the date that they last validated, and then you can make it a yearly basis from that point forward, maybe, or 2 years, however you want to do it. That's just like something just at the top of my head. But that's like but that's what these security attributes, that's what these attributes would be really good for. It's just like making sure that human error is reduced when it comes to manipulating and creating data. So yes, they did that. Only administrators can see hourly salary attributes. Yeah, so restrictions are only certain people can see certain things. Categorize 100,000 applications to easily create a filterable inventory for auditing. Grant users access to the Azure storage blobs belonging to a project. So automatically granting access to certain resources if this group or this person was created and assigned to this thing, right? Once they're assigned to this thing, policy kicks in, the attribute kicks in, where now they automatically have access to blah blah blah. What can I do? Custom security attributes, define business. Yeah, so this is essentially all we just explained about. So okay, yeah, we're good here. Support single values or multiple values. Support user-defined freeform values or predefined. Yeah, assign custom attributes. Right. The predefined would be good for like more consistency. I can see. All right. And then you got the, sync with the Active Directory, right? Because Active Directory lets you do that too. Excuse me. Oh, goodness. Okay. Explore automatic user creation. Use Microsoft Entra provisioning, Microsoft Entra ID, Active Directory, on-premise. Okay, so on-premise apps, Active Directory, authenticate using the Entra services. Now you can use the cloud apps that need authentication as well. Because now that I think about it, I don't think a cloud app can do a direct connection to a on-premise Active Directory. Now that I think about it, I think components of SIM, right? System for cross-domain identity management. HCM system application technologies that enable human capital management process and practices that support and automate HR processes throughout the employee lifecycle. No idea what that I even just read. Market provisioning services uses the SIM 2.0 protocol for automatic provisioning. The service connects to the SIM endpoint for the application, uses the SIM user object schema to automate provisioning and deprovisioning of users and groups. Is this related to just is this just related to like okay, so this sounds like this is just like background connective stuff, right? Where like you create a user and then it just seamlessly just integrates or passes that information across like just the places it needs to be, right? If you create a user that can specifically access certain applications, right, on your local, let's say Active Directory, right, then that information obviously is going to go to the local app version or whatever, right? But then like the same stuff will get regurgitated up to the Entra stuff, right? And it'll make the same kind of connection seamlessly for you without you having to do it manually as well. That's what that sounds like. And I could be completely wrong about this, right? Because it's not necessarily clear, but we'll see. User processor used to manage the lifecycle identities and their entitlements, target system application. Am I okay? Because I thought maybe these are like close to these, but not quite. Target system application or system that has SIM endpoint and works with the Microsoft Entra provisioning to enable automatic provisioning of users and groups. System for cross-domain identity management is an open standard protocol for automating the exchange of user identity information between identity domains and IT systems. SIM ensures that employees added to the human capital management system automatically have accounts created in Microsoft Entra ID so that's exactly what I said, right? You just make it in any one of these places, any one of these main places, and then it'll just get, regurgitated across wherever. User attributes and profiles are synchronized between the two systems, updating and removing users based on user status and role changes. The key is keeping identity systems up to date. If a user can be automatically deprovisioned from Microsoft ID, as soon as they're removed from your HR systems, you have less worry on a possible breach. Yeah, so, okay. So it is exactly like I envisioned it, which is cool. Okay, so check your knowledge. Typically, Microsoft Entra ID defines users in three ways. Cloud identities and guest users are two of the ways. What is the third way it defines users? I have no idea. I doubt is that. There's no, I don't know what you should transition into. Non-connected would be a weird thing to say for a Microsoft Entra ID, so there has to be some connection. I don't know. I say a directory synchronized, right? Because like we remember talking about, right? Active Directory stuff can sync with Microsoft Entra and vice versa. And it could not have originated from, right? Basically, like the identity wouldn't have originated from that source. It would have been from the other place, right? Yeah. Hopefully we're right. Microsoft Entra group-based licensing makes large-scale management easier. Typically, how soon are license modifications effective after group membership changes are made? How soon are license modifications effective after group membership changes are made. I don't remember giving a specific time frame. So within minutes, within the time frame of local domain controllers being refreshed. Maybe it's that, right? Because I'm sure it's not necessarily instantaneous. Because it's hard because like these two things are essentially the same thing, and it's not instantaneous. And like saying within minutes would imply that there is like there's some minimum amount of time of requirement, but what that is unknown. So maybe it could be just whenever, I guess, whatever the time frame it takes for stuff to be refreshed, which would be the same as like pulling updated data. I guess. I guess. Microsoft Entra ID allows for the definition of two different types of groups. One type is security groups, which are used to manage members and computer access to shared resources. What is the other type of group? Microsoft Entra ID allows for the definition of two different types of groups. One type is security groups, which are used to manage member and computer access shares. What is the other type? I don't remember the first or the last one. I don't remember it being called licensing groups specifically. I just know you had users, you had groups, and I guess technically it was under the licensing tab. I think maybe, right? Was it? I guess. I guess. Right? Yeah, I don't know about there being a specific distribution group. Like for what? Right? A distribution group, because distribution, so like they're implying like like communication type of stuff, right? But like that's just something that's just part of Microsoft products, right? So like it wouldn't be you wouldn't have some specific distribution group in my mind for just communication stuff, as that would just be essentially just be what everybody needs, right? So I don't think it's that. And the 365 groups, I mean, some of this stuff just sounds like stuff that you just automatically have at the beginning, like mailboxes, maybe some SharePoint sites for like your particular teams or whatever. I don't know. It's got to be licensing groups, right? It's got to be licensing groups. And it's a 3, right? Okay. So I'm not feeling. So I wasn't confident about any one of these, but I want to say that from a process of elimination standpoint, I am confident about 1 and 3. 2, I'm just not too sure of. Guess we were wrong. Let's review our answers. Within minutes of a membership change. Sorry, that's incorrect. License modifications that result from group membership changes are typically effective within minutes. Effective. I guess there could be some argument to be had about like what they mean specifically about effective, so I'll give them that. Okay. License modifications, within minutes, right? I guess because I guess the key word would really be about effective, right? Because it would just be like, think of like, in my mind, if you were to get a salary upgrade, right? That salary is effective that day. However, obviously, when you get your paycheck may not fully reflect the salary because some time would have passed already. That typically would have passed already, and you would have gotten your you would have been getting your old pay plus the new updated pay that's obviously prorated, right? But that's not like your full, actual, correct salary at that moment in time. It's like kind of like how I'm like associating that with. Okay, the licensing group thing, I have not. I wish they had a link that would take you back to where it even talks about this. I do not remember there being. I don't remember there being 2 exclusive types of groups: security groups and the 365 groups. Like, to me, that doesn't make any sense. Like, that does not make any sense to me. Right? If I look here, let's go to these 2 real quick. Create basic group, add members group, blah blah blah. Remove group are used. Like if I just search 365 group type, select a group type. For more information on group types, see the Learn About Group Types and Memberships article. So it's not even in this module. Oh no, wait, this is whatchamacallit. This is so I'm not even gonna find it here. Hold on. We gotta go in here, we gotta go back. So cool, so I did that. Is this the overview? Okay, yeah, so this is the overview. Go here. Right, so this is what we just completed. Because bro, I'm trying to tell you, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure this made no mention. Wow. So the security groups, the identify groups are two different ways. Security groups, the most common type of groups, and are used to manage member and computer access to shared resources for a group or user policies. See, it was like one of the earlier modules. In fact, I think this might have been the one where we went like a good break, and then we just got to 6, and then we just picked it back up at 6. Maybe. I'm just making excuses. For example, you can create a security group. Yeah, I already know a security group, but what the hell is a 365 group? Provides collaboration opportunities by giving members access to a shared mailbox, calendar, files, SharePoint, and more. This option lets you give people outside of your organization access to the group. Oh, okay. I guess I kind of get it. Not the individual thing, but like something that's like it has its own identity to be used by other people, right? So like I have an employee. The employee obviously has his own mailbox, right? Which would be, i.e., his email address, his own calendar and whatnot, right? But then there can be a team calendar. There could be a team mailbox that everybody would get because it was just, for the emails to like their own individual email address, right? Okay. And then I do remember about the assign and dynamic. That I remembered, so that I get it. The final type of group. You see, this is that bullshit right here. Microsoft Entra ID allows you to define 2 different types of groups: security group, 365 groups. The final type of group is a dynamic group. Like, you see, this is that shit I have to be talking about, bruh. Like why? Why do this? Assign dynamic, right? Characteristics. Why would you name it? Like, see, these are the things you gotta just kind of like look out for, because you'll get yourself twisted up otherwise. Like, I remember assigning dynamic, and then the way it presents it makes it seem like it's a type of group, but the only types of groups is security and 365 groups. So sorry, my nose is like, I do. Got to be careful about my image here. Excuse me, guys. Make sure image wise I don't. Here, right? Okay. Get it right there. Okay. You can move on to the next one. Describe the core architectural components of Azure. This module explains the basic infrastructure components of Microsoft Azure. You'll learn about the physical infrastructure, how resources are managed, and have a chance to create an Azure resource. You introduce the core architectural components of Azure. You'll learn about the physical organization of Azure, data centers, availability zones and regions, and you'll learn about the organizational structure of Azure. Resources, resource groups. These I remember from the fundamentals, right? Subscriptions and magic groups. Okay, so this would be a good refresher. All right, what is Microsoft Azure? Sure, I guess we'll play the video. Okay, so first off, so I don't forget about it later, we are going to need to, let's put that way. Why do I feel like this is about to like
expanding set of services to help you build solutions to meet your business goals.
All right, so hopefully that you
Azure
guys can hear
supports
it.
infrastructure, platform, and software as a service computing with services such as virtual machines running in the cloud,
And all I just need to
website
do
and database
is
hosting, and advanced computing services like artificial
mute
intelligence, machine learning, and
I'll
IoT.
cut this on.
Most of Azure's services are pay as you
Mute
go. You
my
only pay
microphone.
for the computing time that you use. If your business needs complete control over your computing environment, Azure allows you to host virtual machines in the cloud. You can create virtual machines from scratch.
And just like that, right? We're having audio issues. I don't know why, but let me see something real quick. And we're back to having encoding issues. Like, bro, I literally changed nothing. I changed nothing. Okay, so it's definitely my Elgato, right? Let's try playing that video one more time.
Upload your own virtual hard drive or choose from an array of templates that Azure provides. Azure also provides cloud-based storage, which allows you to store your application or backup data safely and securely. Azure's app services provide a scalable hosting platform where developers can create web-based applications using popular development frameworks. You can easily deploy, operate, and scale your apps in a fully managed environment. With Azure Functions, you can create event-driven, serverless applications with no coding required. Azure Container Instances and Azure Kubernetes Service allow you to deploy containerized applications with full.
All right, now I'm gonna have to take some time. I don't know why my nose is so right.
Website and
Because
database
now I'm gonna have to
hosting
figure out
and advanced
why
computing services
my
like
speaker
artificial
doesn't wanna play
intelligence,
this.
machine learning, and IoT. Most of Azure's services are pay as you go. You only pay for the computing time that you use. If your business needs complete control over your computing environment, Azure allows you to host virtual machines in the cloud. You can create virtual machines from scratch, upload your own
That sounds
virtual hard
horrible.
drive,
So hold on.
or
We
choose
gotta
from an
figure out
array of
what's wrong.
templates that Azure provides. Azure also provides cloud-based storage, which allows you to store your application or backup data safely and securely. Azure's app services provide a scalable hosting platform where developers can create web-based applications using popular development frameworks. You can easily deploy, operate, and scale your apps in a fully managed environment. With Azure Functions, you can create event-driven, serverless applications with no coding required. Azure Container Instances and Azure Kubernetes Service allow you to deploy containerized applications with fully managed services. Azure offers a choice of fully managed relational and in-memory databases, spanning proprietary and open-source engines, and Microsoft's Cosmos DB provides support for several popular NoSQL APIs. Azure's artificial intelligence and machine learning services empower developers and data scientists with a wide range of productive experience. What is Azure? Azure is Microsoft's cloud computing platform with an ever-expanding set of services to help you build solutions to meet your business goals. Azure supports infrastructure, platform, and software as a service computing with services such as virtual machines running in the cloud, website and database hosting, and advanced computing services like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and IoT. Most of Azure's services are pay-as-you-go.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we can load it down now. Okay. So yeah, so we figured it out. And that's kind of crazy that I don't even know no more, right? Because if you remember last time, like our last stream, we had an issue with the freaking. Excuse me. What's it? What is it? And I'm having coding issues, so that's another like big problem. But anyway, the monitor only thing definitely gets the audio to the stream, right? But doesn't let you listen to it. But if you remember correctly, right, when we had it to monitor only, we were still able to hear it. I don't know why that's changed. But monitor only and out, and what's the other that second option? I don't even remember what the hell it was called. I just fixed it. Hold on. The monitor. Oh, I'm sorry. Monitor off. Right when we did monitor off, right, it fed you guys the audio and allowed me to hear it at the same time. I don't know why now this time it just didn't. Now I had to do monitor only, which is how I originally understood it, right? You see, this is that BS I talk about technology sometimes just my God, bro. Technology sometimes just be like messing with a brother. But all right, let's go ahead and let's get back to listening to what Azure is.
Only pay for the computing time that you use. If your business needs complete control over your computing environment, Azure allows you to host virtual machines in the cloud. You can create virtual machines from scratch, upload your own virtual hard drive, or choose from an array of templates that Azure provides. Azure also provides cloud-based storage, which allows you to store your application or backup data safely and securely. Azure's app services provide a scalable hosting platform where developers can create web-based applications using popular development frameworks. You can easily deploy, operate, and scale your apps in a fully managed environment. With Azure Functions, you can create event-driven, serverless applications with no coding required. Azure Container Instances and Azure Kubernetes Service allow you to deploy containerized applications with fully managed services. Azure offers a choice of fully managed relational and in-memory databases, spanning proprietary and open-source engines, and Microsoft's Cosmos DB provides support for several popular NoSQL APIs. Azure's artificial intelligence and machine learning services empower developers and data scientists with a wide range of productive experiences for building, training, and deploying machine learning models faster. Azure's regional data centers allow you to distribute your applications globally, so you can locate your data and apps where they're needed most, thereby improving your application performance for your customers. The Azure portal lets you create, configure, and control all your services and resources from a single, easy-to-use web-based interface. Microsoft Azure offers a wide array of cloud computing services where infrastructure management, scalability, availability, and security are handled for you, saving you time and money.
Okay, sorry, I was adjusting my chair while I was listening to that because I already have a good understanding of what Azure is, and it was just going a little bit more into like just the different things that they have. But platform, it's like just kind of like how like how like an e-commerce platform would be to a seller, right? You could either open a shop locally, like in your house or whatever, or you can make an Amazon account, right? And you can sell online, and then you can use all the tools and stuff that Amazon has to reach people, uh, you know, possibly even like across oceans, because it handles all the stuff you would need in order to be able to do that. Just kind of, I just wanted a little bit more back support. Gotta have your back straight, upright. Okay. I don't know why my jacket here is. Bro, I'm so upset that my encoder is still like frizzing out on occasion. That really makes me upset. That really makes me upset. Um, mm, 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 mm. I'm just fixing something real quick. Cause I don't know why that quit all of a sudden, but get that bro, I don't understand, bro. Like, if you could see my task manager, this is the thing that's pissing me off, right? If you could see my task manager, right? My task manager, my GPU is not breaking the sweat here. 49% to 60% on 3D, right? But that's not even important. Important is the encoding and decoding. And the encoding, 25 is hovering mostly around 25%, sometimes spiking up to like 40. Like, he has these weird spikes, but they still don't even spike above the, what's the word I'm looking for? Above the above, like, like 90%. Decoding doesn't have no spikes, 35 to 40% around there, right? So the only thing that's like a bit suspicious is my VRAM, right? Dedicated memory is 6.7 out of 8. It's not using all of the VRAM, but even though it's not using all of the VRAM, it still has some shared GPU memory being used, which I know can slow some stuff down. That's what preferably what you would like. I think preferably what you would like to do is you'd want your OBS to be loaded first before any other application. They use the graphics so that the other stuff would be forced to use the shared GPU. I think it's like how you do it, but regardless, right? I've been dealing with this issue for years. Like all the stuff I've been trying to do, where I just get like these weird issues. And it's just time to get a 5090. My guys, it's time to get a 5090. I'm done with this. So now let's go ahead and let's go back. What does Azure offer? Limitless innovation, build intelligent apps and solutions with advanced technology tools. Oh yeah. So I'm not gonna bother to read through this, right? Because we know what Azure is, right? We already know what Azure is, right? We just want the refresher on these bad boys right here, because this was a big part of Azure, right? The account itself, right? The subscriptions, right? Which would handle like how billing works, and then like the resources you would attach to these subscriptions to handle how billing works, right? And then the resource groups that would have the actual specific resources that you're using, and you separate them in resource groups, I believe, to make it easy for you to like have like a breakdown of billing, to make it easier for you to like not, I don't want to call it auditing, but like just think of something similar to auditing where like it's just easy for you to see like, okay, you paid this much for this specific thing right here, blah blah blah. Because I think the way they do the billing breakdown is by subscriptions, and then the subscriptions may do it by like the different resource groups. But I don't think but I don't think you can get it by like specific, like this specific VM machine cost you this much money, whereas the resource group would just say, the resource group would just says we spent this much money on VM machines, period. I think, right? I could be wrong about that, but we'll find out. All right, so yeah, so you get an Azure, create an Azure free student account. It gives $100 credits and free developer tools, so you can sign up without a credit card. Yeah, I'm done with that. You want to start the puzzle? Match the number of rocks with the number on the left. It's maybe it must be all rocks together, right? So this is 3. Oh no, you gotta match it with the number on the left. Okay, so we're looking for it to. Is that one rock or is that just one on top of another? Let's go through the images and see. Okay, that's clearly just one rock. And we got another one. Okay, yeah, see, he's alone by himself. Where would you get these images from? Why would you even imagine like you as the person that went out into the wild to specifically take anti-bot photos of something, right? And be like, you know what? This bench looked like I can use this to fight fight my fight against bots on the internet. Because they'll never know what color, ask them what color is this bench? Type of stuff, Or how many people are sitting on the bench, right? And you have a big, like, wide photo. You have just that one bench there to the side. Let me see. me see what this is talking about real quick. You know what? Why am I even doing that for this? Because we already know. Yeah, I still remember the commands. Yeah, AZ. Let's just see what's this upgrade. An update to the client with AZ upgrade. You can change back to PowerShell. Just like in PowerShell mode of the client, you can use the les AZ to start the Azure command in the bash. Trying to run by entering pwsh on the bash command line. I don't understand what this means. You can tell bash. You can tell you're in bash mode by the username displayed. It would be that. Again, use the get date. You'll receive an error because get date is a PowerShell specific. You can use date just like PowerShell. Oh, easy upgrade. Okay, so that's what it sounds like. So it sounds, but why? So is this just the only command you do to get the bash? That's what it's making it sound like. You can get back to PowerShell mode. No, you get back to PowerShell mode by saying pwsh. So, oh, is this for you to just run specific Azure commands in bash? So if you try to do get date, it wouldn't work because you need to be in Azure command line. But if you do AZ get date, then it would work. But the way they was presenting this, I thought this was like changing your command interface to the Azure client, so you'd be able to do it. But I guess not. But then it says you can change back to PowerShell mode by doing pwsh in bash mode. Use the PowerShell AZ version. Okay. Use bash. Use Azure client interactive mode. AZ interactive. Enter AZ to enter interactive mode. Oh yeah, look at that. And then you're able to have all that extra stuff. At least that's what I know how to do now. We will most certainly be using interactive mode. Use the Azure portal. Physical infrastructure. The physical infrastructure for Azure starts with data centers. Conceptually, data centers are the same as the large corporate data centers. The weird thing to compare it to. Is it not the same? There are facilities within, data centers within like maybe a private corporation, I think is what it's trying to talk about maybe. There are facilities with resources arranged in racks with dedicated power, cooling, and networking infrastructure. As a global cloud provider, Azure has data centers around the world. However, these individual data centers aren't directly accessible. Data centers are grouped into Azure regions or Azure availability zones that are designed to help you achieve resiliency and reliability for your business critical workloads. Regions are the geographic area on the planet that, we remember. Availability zones are physically separated data centers within an Azure region, right? So you had your data center, and then your data outside your data center, you had multiple data centers, which would be considered availability zones because they'd be relatively like in the same state or same country, for example, or let's just say same state. And then you had your regions, West Coast, East Coast, let's say, for example, right, where that one particular region can have multiple availability zones, right? So that's how I remember. Most Azure regions appear with another region with the same geography, at least 300 miles away. This approach allows for the replication of resources across the geography that helps to reduce the likelihood of interruptions because of events such as natural disasters, civil unrest, power outages. Ugh, my throat is playing with me, man. Power outages are physical network outages that affect an entire region. For example, a region in a pair was affected by a natural disaster, services will automatically fall over to the other region. Pair non-Azure services automatically replicate data or automatically fall back. In these scenarios, recovery replication must be configured by the customer. Example of region pairs are West US and East US and Southeast Asia paired with East Asia because the pair of regions are directly connected and far enough apart to be isolated from regional disasters. You can use them to provide reliable services and data redundancy. Additional advantages of region pairs. If an extensive Azure outage occurs, one region out of every pair is prioritized. To make sure at least one is restored as quickly as possible for applications hosted in that region pair. Planned Azure updates are rolled out to paired regions, one region at a time, to minimize downtime, risk application outage. Data continues to reside within the same geography as its pair for tax and law enforcement. Most regions are paired in two directions, meaning they are the backup for the region that provides a backup for them. However, some regions such as West India and Brazil South are paired in only one direction. In a one direction pairing, the primary region does not provide backup for a secondary region. So even though West India's secondary region is South India does not rely on West India. West India's secondary region is South India, but South India's secondary region is Central India. Brazil South is unique because it's paired with a region outside of its geography. Brazil South secondary region is South Central U.S. The secondary region of South Central U.S. isn't Brazil. Okay. That's kind of cool to know. Sovereign regions, in addition to regular regions, Azure also has sovereign regions. Sovereign regions are instances of Azure that are isolated from the main instance of Azure. You need to use a sovereign region for compliance or legal purposes. Yeah, so this is like China. Yep, see China. I remember this. Microsoft doesn't directly maintain the data centers, right? And this is where that data is directly accessed by the Chinese. And that's hence why the whole thing with what's the social media app that's like clearly harvesting your data that the Chinese have access to? TikTok. There we go. Right. That is exactly why TikTok got so much flack it did with the U.S. government, right? Because it was just a concern that if it's a Chinese-owned app, if a Chinese company-owned app, then that data in one way or another is accessible and at the whip and call of the Chinese government, which is a no-go for the U.S. government. So they were like, yeah, we got to kill this. Describe Azure management infrastructure. Azure resources and resource groups. A resource is the basic building block of Azure. Anything you create, provision, deploy is a resource. You remember this, a resource group is just a group of all those individual resources. The subscription, now this is what we need to read. And Azure subscription are a unit of management, billing, and scale, right? This billing thing being the important part. Similar to how resource groups are ways to logically organize resource subscriptions, allow you to logically organize your resource groups and facilitate billing. Using Azure requires Azure subscription. A subscription provides you authentication, authorized access to Azure product services. It allows you to provision resources. An account can have multiple subscriptions, but it's only required to have one. In a multiple subscription account, you can use the subscriptions to configure different billing models and apply different access management policies. You can use Azure subscriptions to define boundaries around Azure product services and resources. There are two types of boundaries: billing boundary, access control boundary. Azure, let me read the access control boundaries so I can just make sure. Azure applies access management policies at a subscription level, and you can create separate subscriptions to reflect different organizational structures. For an example is that within the business, you have different departments to which you apply distinct Azure subscription policies. This billing model allows you to manage and control access to resources. Okay, so man, my congestion just ain't my friend today. I'm sorry, guys. So the way I recall this, okay, when it comes to the different ways you can go about billing, like for example, Azure allows you, like when it comes to a VM machine, let me take a step back. You guys have probably heard of the phrase like pay for what you use, right? You can have two very distinct billing models related to that, right? Pay as you use or fixed rate for this amount of resources for this amount of time. Okay. So for example, like if I wanted to use 4 cores of processing or whatever, right? I can either pay like a hourly rate for using those 4 cores, or I can prepay for the ability to use those 4 cores for a certain amount of time. It's typically cheaper if you was going to use it for the exact same time in either scenario. It's supposed to be cheaper for you to do the prepaid option, um, where you prepay. Let's say if I was going to use it for 24 hours a day for a month, right? The price of me doing that on a pay as you go or pay as you use scenario versus a prepaid scenario would be different, right? The pay as you go would be more expensive than the prepaid. Okay, now that when they're talking about the billing types, right? So you could particularly have like a subscription specifically for pay as you go for these people that have very low light usage, and then like for your hardcore people you could have a separate billing cycle where like these people, in order to be economical, you're gonna already prepay a fixed amount because they use it heavily every day. you know that's how I remember like those how those were being set up. I mean, even here, so billing boundary, this subscription type determines how your account is billed for using Azure, right? And then they talk about the different billing requirements. Create most subscription for different billing requirements. Like I just like actually kind of gave the scenario for. Create additionals or subscriptions. Let's see for and these are just examples of what you might create a separate subscription for. Got it. For billing first aggregated. So costs are first aggregated at the subscription level. You might want to create subscriptions that manage your costs based on your needs. For instance, you may want to create one subscription for your production workloads and another subscription for your development and testing workloads, right? So again, right, this is accounting. This is the word I was looking for originally, right? This is all tying into like how you would account for expenses by being more granular with like the billing that's being reported to you. That's like where this stuff tends to shine when it comes to the subscriptions and what is it? Resource groups. Yeah, the subscriptions and resource groups. Management groups. A final piece is the management group. Resources are gathered in resources groups, and resource groups are gathered in subscriptions. If you're starting Azure, that might seem like enough hierarchy to keep things organized, but imagine if you're dealing with multiple applications, multiple development teams, blah, blah, blah. If you have many subscriptions, you might need a way to efficiently manage access, blah, blah, blah. Azure management groups provide a level of scope above subscriptions. You organize subscriptions into containers like called management groups and apply governance conditions to the management groups. All subscriptions with a management group automatically inherit the conditions applied to the management group the same way that resource groups inherit settings from subscriptions. And yeah, I remember this. So management group, I just don't remember about how the management groups tend to have work. Okay, but this photo kind of breaks it down. Okay. So you can build flexible structures of management groups and subscriptions to organize your resources into a hierarchy, unified policy. So yeah, so this would be more of allocating your resources in a way that's better organized. Like it really comes together when you start looking here. So you got one for human resources, IT, marketing, and then one in there, right? You got production. So this one would have been broken down for IT. You had your production, and then maybe your developer groups, right? And then in your IT, let's pretend like these region 1, region 2s is like production and dev, right? Production might have these specific things. Developers might have these specific things, right? Because maybe in production you wouldn't need what's the word I'm looking for? You wouldn't need certain developer tools, like Sublime Text, for example, right? It'd be like you keep that out of production, but you add it to the dev environment because the devs like to use the Sublime Text because it's cool, right? So provide user access to multiple subscriptions by moving multiple subscriptions on a manager group. You can create one Azure role-based access control assignment on a manager group. Assigning Azure blah 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 at the management group level means that all sub-manager groups blah 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 will be inherited, right? Yep, inherit those permissions. Okay, yeah, and then this will just be, and then inherently you get like some cool things when it comes to like creating these manager groups, which would be like just the labeling, right? That word labeling that I like to use, right, for applying like policies and security stuff. 10,000 manager groups can be supported in a single directory. Jeez. A magic group tree can support up to 6 levels of depth. This limit doesn't include the root level or the subscription level. Okay, so 6 levels of management groups, not to include obviously this beginning group here and then these subscriptions, right? So like if it was 1, 2, 3, imagine that there was like 5, right? From here to here, let's pretend like it was 5. Okay. That would mean that this 6 would be the limit here. So like you couldn't make any other groups going down any further. But that's not the case, because you could do a 6 group, and then that 6 group has stuff underneath it, which would be another, like, I guess you could say another branch. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so I mean that's cool. I guess each master group subscription can support only one parent. Oh, so like this group can't belong to both, apps and production, right? So you can't just add this to production, right? So if you had a production and dev, this resource group would have to belong to either one or the other. It couldn't belong to both, which I guess I wonder how that would work with regards to subscriptions. Like if you had a tool that you wanted both groups to be able to use, I guess you'd have to assign the licenses separately. Or actually, no, I'm an idiot, right? You would just assign the license to the parent group. Yeah, right? You would just assign the license to the parent group, because then the subgroups inherit the parent group stuff. So, right. I can't wait till I get into my programming phase, guys. Right now, you're seeing me in my certification phase, my program phase, bro. I have so much ideas for stuff I want to create and do. And it's getting hot up in this mug. Sheesh. I'm sorry, it's getting hot. What I'm gonna have to do tomorrow is I'm gonna have to skip dinner and see what it feels like when I do this. So I'll just have like a more decent lunch, and then we'll just have the last one that we have on hand for dinner, and then see how that works, right? Because I honestly can't tell you if my dinner is influencing it or what I really think is influencing, which is this damn light being so bright. Because I just want to know the energy that I am feeling, well, or the energy that I want to be misleading, right? This is supposed to give you energy, right? I was a little bit tired coming into this, right? But on the other times where I didn't have this, right? Whenever, as soon as I cut this light on, like my tiredness goes away, and that's just like because your body internally, right? When you get like the lighting, right? The lighting, uh, I don't know, the whatever that rhythm is, that internal rhythm, right? It's like when you see the sunlight, right? If it's dark outside, you probably want to go to sleep, right? And then the moment you see the sun outside, it's probably harder for you to fall asleep, type of stuff, right? Because your body internal clock, blah blah blah, or internal rhythm, which you're just also influenced by the light that you're exposed yourself to. And that's why, like me, since I operate mostly in a dark room, having this bright light is it could be what's like putting me up. Um, okay, so this wants you to create an Azure resource. Okay, so this I remember. I probably really need to like make sure I remember here. What does it want you to make? Virtual machine name. Oh, is this doing it through the portal? So we already know how to do this through the portal. Yeah, the portal was hard. It's like doing the command line. The command line is like what's the pain? So we're not even gonna bother with that. I need the command line. How many resource groups can a resource be in at a time? Can a resource only one resource group at a time? What happens to the resources within a resource group when an action or setting at the resource group level is applied? This setting is applied to current and future resources. What Azure features replicate resources across regions that are at least 300 miles away from each other? This is called availability zones, right? Remember, availability zones are the data centers that are within the same like area, but are like the same, let's just use states, right? Because I'm from the US, okay? The US has multiple states, right? So like these could be different data centers in the same state, right? That are very far apart from each other, so you don't have no issue, or states right across from each other, right? So like for example, like Texas and Kansas, for example, right? Since they're like they border each other, could be a potential region pair availability zone, right? Whereas those two, because they're like close enough to each other, and they don't. There's not indicative particularly of an entire region, right? An entire region could be the all of the West Coast or Central US or Eastern US, right? Which is what the region pairs is, right? Where like you got West Coast and maybe like its data and stuff are paired with the East Coast so that there's data redundancy and whatnot. Sovereign regions is just the stuff where like you just have like think of like the Great Firewall of China, right? Where like you have data over there and none of that is accessible over here, like, or vice versa, right? And so like, or it's just cut off from everything else, and you can have that like in whatever country. So like if Brazil had a requirement where they wanted the specific stuff of data that's only accessible, only available, can only be touched within the country's borders, basically, right? Then that would be a sovereign region. Okay. But the 300, so yeah, the 300 miles, that's the availability zones. I'll submit the answers. Wait, what? Review my answers, right? A region pair is when a reserve region is paired with another region. Okay, we gotta go back. Did I like mess that up? How did I? Wait, or did I confuse myself? No, it's this one right here. Configure manage for no. It's not neither one of these. Why is this? Hold on. Hold on. See, now I'm upset because like, what is it talking about? Like an availability, like that's what an availability zone are physically separated data centers within a region, within an Azure region. Each availability zone is made up of one or more data centers equipped with independent, blah, blah, blah. One zone goes down, the other continues working. This is the availability zone. So is the region pairs is the only time where they mention about. Oh, I misread that. No. Okay. Fuck. Excuse me. I mean to let that slip there, but I'm just hold on. I'm trying to rewrite my brain here. No, region pairs is when a 300-mile thing comes. Let's read the availability zone one more time. You want to ensure your services and data are redundant, blah, blah, blah. You can use availability zones for mission critical. Availability zones are primarily this stuff. Support availability zones following three kinds: zone services, specific zone redundant services. The platform replicates automatically across zones. Even with additional resiliency that availability zones provided, it's possible that an event could be so large that it impacts multiple availability zones in a region. To provide even further resilience, Azure has region pairs. A minimum of 3 separate availability zones are present in all availability zone enabled regions. However, not all regions currently support availability zones. When you host your infrastructure, setting up a redundant hardware environment. So that's what they just call it? Okay. I thought these availability zones were like completely. Let me read this right here. Physically separate. Yeah, no, they're physically separated data centers. An availability zone is set up to be an isolation boundary. If one zone goes down, the other continues working. High-speed private fiber optic networks. So, if I'm thinking about this right, when they say separate data centers, They don't mean what you and I would think of a data center, because we consider the whole building that we're looking at as a data center. But the way they're describing it is like, in that building, you let's pretend like you had multiple rooms in a building, and within those rooms would be considered data centers, right? But the way they, because the way they explain it, right, if one zone, the other continues to work. Availability zones are connected through high-speed private fiber optic networks, which you could achieve within a building. And I mean, it'd be expensive, but I guess, if you want to too, if you have a large enough real estate footprint, you could have multiple buildings in the vicinity of each other that are then like all hardwired to each other, and then you can consider those availability zones. But this is a bit, yeah. See, this is a bit misleading when they tell me physically separate data centers. Their facilities with resources arranged in racks. As a global provider, Azure has data centers. However, these individual data centers aren't directly accessible. Data centers are grouped into Azure regions or Azure zones that the global gives you a chance to interact and explore online. Because I'm really confused at like what exactly they mean by data centers now, and this is gonna like reinforce my idea that a data center is like a completely separate building from another. 300 plus data centers worldwide. I don't even know where I would even go to look for a guided virtual data center tour. I'm so upset right now because it's like that's probably like the most misleading thing that my brain has allowed me to just walk myself into. Yeah, there's no way I'm gonna be able to figure out. I don't understand then what's the difference between, because now it's not all that clear about the difference between an availability zone and a region, right? And a region, most Azure regions are paired with another region within the same geography, at least 300 miles away. Because like in that theory, then like you could have in the United States, right, for example, or let's just say China, like China or Russia, right, like giant land masses. Let's say you could pop a data center anywhere. You could, in theory, then you could have a country with like potentially 20-ish data centers. I'm sorry, regions. May see, this is all stuff I really want to read, but Grander recommends Alabama Police Department be immediately abolished. Damn. How wide? Yeah, how wide in miles is the? Let's just do the U.S. 2,800 miles. So, like in theory, right? You could, right? That's what? That's what, 9-ish, right? Because 300 miles, at least 300 miles. Three of that is 900 miles, right? So that's three. So three and 900 miles, 9, 18, 27. So it's 9. So yeah, you could have about 9. You could have like 9 regions in the United States, potentially, right? But the way we're describing this, because if I was to do something like West and East Coast, I would see a bunch of availability zones, but a bunch of availability zones don't have to be within 300 miles from each other, right? They can just literally be in the exact same building. They don't say, because a building can be redundant in power too. Of one or more data centers equipped with independent power, cooling, and networking. God, my brain hurts. I'm overthinking this. Let me reel it back. I'm overthinking it. I'm just upset that like they're not being crystal clear about what do they mean by an availability zone, because that could be it could be either physical, either one singular building with a bunch of like independently powered rooms um in them, right? Because you can have a building, I mean, you can have a building wired up to more than one power source. There's a large enough building, yeah, sure. Or multiple, like, power stations or whatever the hell it's called. um and then when they say independent power thing, you could potentially, especially with the goal of going, like, was it net zero on the carbon the carbon pollution or whatever, right? You can have one part of the data center plugged up directly to electric grid, and the other part of the data center plugged up to green energy. So like a bunch of solar panels, windmill, and the batteries that just collect all that energy that's not being used or whatever. um And there's another way. But again, right now, this is just me being picky just because I didn't like that I got the question wrong. But I really, being all pettiness to the side, I really wish there was just a little bit more clear about this, because physically separate data centers in the region, like when I read this, I think about separate buildings. And so, and I guess the buildings don't have to be significant amount of ways apart. They could literally just be like one run across from the other, especially since they're connected through a high speed fiber. Because I think it's only the availability zones that's connected, um, right, with the private fiber optic networks, but the regions are not, right? I don't think the regions, excuse me, I don't think the regions have such connections. I don't recall seeing that. So okay, well, we'll leave that be. Yeah, that makes me so mad. That really makes me so mad. It also tells you too, like, why you just gotta be careful. You gotta be really careful. When I buy when I buy the certificate, the thing to be able to take the certificate, the certification, I'm gonna have to add that add on what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? I'm gonna have to add that add on. I'm gonna have to add that add-on that lets me, like, if I fail it, that I don't have to, like, I don't have to shell out another like couple of $100 to just take the certification exam again, because some of those certifications can be expensive. Okay, well, but this is done. We can close this. We can close that. What time is it? It's 11:42. We still got a couple of hours. All right. So now next is what? The policy initiatives. Policy initiatives. An hour and 13 minutes. Okay. Well, we don't know nothing about this. Oof. Boy, this is gonna be a long boy. Okay, that's not too bad, right? So the learning path for the admin is just the prerequisites: identities and govern, configure, implement, manage storage, deploy, managers or compute resources, and monitor and backup resources. That's not bad. That's not bad. I just want to real quick, because my brain just needs a quick break. Is I just want to see what's the, do they have a thing that shows you all the different certificates they have? Um oh, applied skills, that's cool. Administering information security. These are just straight up just exams. I'm sorry. I wanted I wanted to know, like, their actual certifications, right? Or are these like literally called separate things? Oh no, these are actually, oh, okay, so these are actually, that's so really weird. Administering information security, so you can get certified in Administering information security in Microsoft 365. Okay. I mean, I don't know what it is, so I thought there was a better breakdown than this. Surely there's a better breakdown than this. 127 different certifications. This can't. Infrastructure solutions, design for Microsoft DevOps solutions. Can I just get a? Let me go here. Certifications. There's a difference between certification. No, it's the same thing. I think, right? This one gives me like slightly different stuff, right? Here goes 73. I was gonna say, bro, like certifications and credentials are, I guess, I don't know. 365 certified administrator expert. I want to see certified educator. Azure AI engineer associate. So this is what I want, right? Because I already have the the Azure fundamentals. I want to get the admin associate, and then we're going to work on the AI fundamentals and then the AI associate. I was thinking about doing data. Maybe if I really feel like it, maybe we can do data. Data is really important. I understand, but my brain, I'm just, I get so tired. Yeah, see, this is the one we have. I do not feel like doing no networking. Yeah. And I don't feel like burning my life into just doing certifications for so long. But yeah, this is what we want. We're working on the admin associate, and then we're gonna go to AI fundamentals because that should be easy dub, and then we'll get the engineer associate. Okay, so now let's go ahead. That was a good break of. All right. All right. Is there a policy? Excuse me. Nothing's coming out. All right. Azure Policy is a service that allows you to create, assign, and manage governance policies that enforce rules and effects over Azure resources to ensure that they stay compliant with your IT governance standards. These policies enforce various rules and effects on resources, ensuring that they adhere to corporate standards and service level agreements. These policies are described in JSON format and are known as policy definitions. Azure Policy is crucial for enforcing organizational standards and accessing compliance on a large scale. Azure Policy initiatives are a collection of Azure Policy definitions that are grouped together toward a specific goal or purpose. By consolidating multiple Azure policies into a single item, Azure Policy initiatives allow centralized control and enforcement of configurations across Azure resources. Industry-specific organizations and sectors like government, public sector, finance, and others accelerate digital transformation. And others accelerate. Okay, and others, you need to give yourself a short, tiny pause here. And others accelerate digital transformation and achieve better business outcomes. They can achieve this objective by adopting specific sovereignty-focused Azure policy initiatives to address the complexity of compliance with national and regional regulatory requirements. Customers can create Azure policy initiatives that aid in customizing deployments to reduce the time needed to audit environments and help meet established regulatory compliance frameworks and government requirements. The initiatives help public sector partners and customers create cloud guardrails and enforce specific regulations effectively. They can layer policy initiatives to help form a complete solution for their specific needs, and they can use deployment automation to ensure consistency. best practices, and save time. In this module, you'll learn how Azure policy can help do the common tasks related to creating, assigning, and managing policies across your organization, such as assign a policy to enforce a condition for resources you create in the future. This is okay. So this is where we were kind of going with when we was talking about the labeling thing. That I don't even remember the original name anymore because I just call it labeling. I think it's security groups. Security groups. Green, assign an initiative definition to track compliance for multiple resources, resolve a non-compliant or denied resource, implement a new policy across an organization. Organizations are wholly responsible for ensuring their own compliance with all applicable laws and regulations. The information provided in this document does not constitute legal advice, and organizations should consult their legal advice for any question regarding regulatory compliance. I wonder if it's done copying my Chinese M2 drives that are fake. Hold on. Sorry, I'm distracted. 83% copied, right? I'm copying this big, almost 200 gig file to this 4 terabyte drive. And it started off super fast at like 700 megabytes a second. And then went to a horrendous crawl of 2 megabytes a second. So that tells me that not only is it fake, but the data would almost certainly not be readable when it's actually done. The other drive doesn't even work anymore with the hardware test I did because I found something to do like a hardware test to it, and now like the hardware test doesn't even can't even use the drive no more. I can create files still on it myself, but for some reason the hardware test is like, yeah, we can't do this no more. So that's interesting. But this is why, but we already did the request for the refund and they already approved it. We just gotta send it back. So when I get a chance, I just need to get like one of these little, I know I have a little box somewhere around, and I'm gonna just throw those M2 drives in there, send it back. And the problem is that I already have 4 more on the way, just because of how long it just takes for Chinese products to get over here. I'm gonna send those back because I already also just ordered like 4 2 terabyte 2 terabyte M2s that I know should work without a problem. I'm not even gonna like stress myself about that. But it's what I'm saying, like sometimes it's a hit and miss, right? Because those M2s obviously were fake, but at least the network cards like were not, and some of the other stuff we got was all good. But that's enough of a distraction. That's you know what? I'm gonna be right back. I need like 5 minutes. I'm gonna like cut this heat off and then I will take an actual real break, and then we'll be right back and we'll get to it. I had to test something real quick, and it doesn't look like it's working. All right, you're gonna see me just flop back and forth between this main and this. Be right back for a second because I want to see if I can fix this real quick. I think I understand. I think because my transition thing, I don't think that like basically the thing that like mimics Batman. That I think because it's a horizontal video, it won't show up on my vertical. I have two different streams, right? So I have the horizontal and I have a vertical stream at the same time. You guys mostly only see the horizontal one. The vertical one is only available on YouTube. And it looks like that's the only way this would make sense to me. Right? If I do move the main. Hold on, can I? Is there such a thing as I guess there is, but I'm scared to do a move the main as a scene transition, but let me see. Let me just say these are fades. By transition will be a move to main, and then we're gonna go back to be right back now. Okay, so the main thing we did fix for the thing. So now this is my last test, and then I'm actually going on my actual break, which is to move it to, let's see if it does it on the vertical. My see, my drive is it's slowing up. I don't know why. But all right, let's try it again. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, that was kind of terrible. I'm I'm like sleepy but not sleepy at the same time. And I ended up like getting distracted because I was reading because I said this is all about hardware and technology here. So I was sitting there and trying to make sense of like the hardware encoders on the Nvidia GPUs. Because first off, like their naming scheme and stuff, like their code names don't make any sense, and then it's just like so difficult. Because like the lower number you go, the higher quality or higher like performing GPU it is for the code names, and then like the way like they break it down, which again to me is like really strange because like if I was to go to like on the older generations, like let's say like the 10,000, like the 1080 for example, right? Um NVEC hardware encoders, right? They had like two, like so most of the GPUs only have one, right? Those the upper tier of those GPUs have like two encoders on them, right? And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, well the 20 series, right? The 20 series, at least the 30 series, right? But like let's stick with the 20 series. The 20 series is like leaps and bounds, right? In quality or whatever above the 1000. I would have expected the lowest 2000 to be at or maybe slightly more performant than the highest 10,000, the 1000 series, you know? So at the very least, like two encoders. Apparently not, right? Apparently all these GPUs, except for like the upper tier in that class, which to me just makes I do not understand. I do not understand who the hell is designing these things with for Nvidia. Like it's just mind-boggling. Hence why like the 3060, right, which I have a bunch of 3060s, have 12 gig VRAMs, but then the 4060 does not, right? It has like less than that, right? The 3060 has more VRAM than your third than your 4070, right? You know, it's just it's stuff like that is just like I can't understand it, right? And the only reason why they're getting away with this is because they don't have a real GPU player yet. I promise you, because for the sake of wanting to learn, it's the only reason why I have these NVIDIA GPUs. When I really get good at what I'm doing, I'm really starting to like actually make some money. I'm going AMD, right? Because the only reason why NVIDIA is able to do this what essentially is this bullshit is just because they don't necessarily have a real competitor, right? AMD wiped the floor with Intel when it came to the CPUs. It was just a matter of time. AMD, in order to actually hit the GPU space, right, they got to be a little bit more aggressive in like the raw power of their GPU, but they need developer support. Like, you know, they provide the foundation and stuff, and it's just like Nvidia just has like their codec stuff, right? Their developments and whatnot. It's just so ingrained into the development sphere, especially when you talk like AI and stuff. And it's like, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna learn off of that. Sure, I'm gonna learn all of it, but then there is going to be a point in my time, right? Especially once I have enough money and resources, I will then, you know, get the next greatest, best, like make another great system, right? Because you know these are great, but they're not gonna last forever, right? Especially like that cheap Intel one I have, as regarding the servers that I built back there. But when I remake it, is all AMD all the way, and I will be doing everything I can to then like take my experience at that point and then start learning from the ground up AMD's whole dev kits, right? Especially for the GPUs, and I will do what I can to like make AMD GPUs great again in the eyes of well, I can't say great again. You can't. I've been wanting to use that, but can't use that for that. Where AMD GPUs particularly, but make AMD GPUs much more desired when it comes to like just stuff. Period. Hell, I might even make some applications and stuff that's like AMD GPU specific. Maybe we'll see. I could do that more with like apps, like cell phone apps, than I can with like computer applications. But you know, with that being said, let's go ahead. Let's pick this back up. I'm only going through like maybe 30 more minutes. Oh yeah. So about my encoder thing, right? So yeah. So learning that, I have to do a little bit more diving, but now I totally understand the encoding overload, right? Because the encoding, so like the actual chip, the encoding chip, well, first and foremost, only allow one stream, right? Most of these GPU only allow one stream, right? Only the high end. So like if I had a 3090, I'd have two. But I have a 3060s. I have all the 30. Well, in my PC, I have a 3070 particularly, but you know what I'm saying? Just keep that in mind, right? So, um, first and foremost, one encoding chip, right? And then that encoding chip is limited to a like so there's a certain resolution and then there is a frame rate. And so when I think about it, right, it's like, oh, okay, so when I'm running multiple streams, and then this is where the confusion had hit, right? Because I remember a friend telling me that, oh yeah, like back in the day he used to have multiple OBS running and they would just do things, and I'm just sitting there, I was like, yeah, okay, it's like, okay, cool. And now it makes sense to me because back then they probably had like the high end, the 1080, which is trash compared to like, let's say like the 30 series, like for obvious reasons, but it has, two NVIDIA media encoders. You know what I'm saying? So it's just as like, I don't know. I don't know why NVIDIA designed this bullshit the way it is. I don't think AMD suffers from this. I don't know. I don't, or maybe if they do, well, they probably do because it's probably just strictly just for competition purposes when it came to NVIDIA. But I hope over time, like they start dropping. They can keep, maybe they drop one of the tiers and they just have a low end and high end, right? And then every generation the low end will always be better than the previous generation high end. It's kind of like how I would like to see the future. But okay, let's pull this back up. All right. Cloud adoption framework for Azure. The Microsoft, where my mouse at? Sorry, it's on the other computer. All right. The Microsoft Cloud Adoption Framework for Azure offers comprehensive technical guidance for Microsoft Azure. This end-to-end framework helps cloud artifacts, architects? Ain't it supposed to be architects? No, not architects. Arc. There we go. Arc. CH with a K. Architects. Architects, IT experts, and business leaders reach their cloud adoption objectives. Cloud adoption framework includes best practices, documentation, and tools that Microsoft employees, partners, and customers contribute to formulate and implement effective business and technological strategies for the cloud. For more information, see blah, blah, blah. The following diagram provides high-level information about different methodologies that are included in the Microsoft Cloud Adoption Framework for Azure for each phase of your cloud adoption lifecycle. Within the framework, Microsoft Azure policy plays a significant role in the governance framework to help govern your cloud environment and workloads. Define a strategy, plan, business platform workload, adopt. Okay, so this is getting into like just the big what do you call it? Like the book / concept side of, I guess, business. Cloud governance refers to the management of cloud usage in your organization. The cloud adoption framework govern methodology offers a systematic framework for setting up and improving cloud governance in Azure. This guidance applies to organizations across various industries, and it addresses crucial areas such as regulatory compliance, security, operations, cost management, data, resource management, and AI. It's essential for defining and maintaining efficient cloud use. Comprehensive cloud governance oversees all aspects of cloud use, minimizes various risks such as compliance, security, resource management, and data-related concerns, and optimizes cloud operations throughout the organization. It ensures that cloud activities are consistent with the overall cloud strategy, facilitating the achievement of business objectives with reduced obstacles. Steps for cloud governance. Cloud governance is a continuous process. It requires ongoing monitoring, evaluation, and adjustments to adapt to evolving technologies, risk, and compliance requirements. The cloud adoption framework governance methodology divides cloud governance into 5 steps. Build a cloud governance team, assess cloud risk, document cloud governance policies, enforce cloud governance policies, monitor cloud governance. Build the governance team, establish a dedicated cloud governance team that's responsible for defining, maintaining, and reporting on the progress of cloud governance policies. Assess risks. Conduct a thorough risk assessment. I'm gonna see if how much of this light I can lower real quick. This light is just way too strong. It's bright, man. Okay, let's go like that. That's okay. Yeah, that's like 1,000 times better. And did it make me? But did it make me? It made me almost invisible in my vertical stream, but that's fine. You know what? We can live with the pastoral bit. Allow me to be ghost-like for the time being here. All right. Establish a dedicated governance team that's responsible for defining, maintaining, and reporting on the progress of cloud governance policies. Assess cloud risk. Conduct a thorough risk assessment that's unique to your organization, addressing all risk categories, including regulatory compliance, security, operation costs, data management, resource management, and AI-related risk. Document cloud governance policies. Clearly document cloud governance policies that dictate acceptable cloud governance, blah, 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 and enforce cloud governance policies. Okay, so this is all just, okay, so this is ESOP. Now, once I turned that light off, see, it's all coming back to me now. Because, bro, that light was just killing me, all right? But basically, these are all, they're talking about like just actual, just standard like business practices now at this point, right? So like when governance, right? So building the governance team, right? Because obviously you want to have a dedicated compliance team that's making sure that you're doing, that all things are correct, and is constantly assessing that your business and whatever parts of it is doing, is not about to put the entire company on the hot water for violating something, whether that be an actual law regulation or exposure, a security risk, or something that becomes damaging to the company. Which, okay, that makes sense, right? Then assess cloud risk. So now they're just talking about what the team should be handling, right? Which is like conducting those risk assessments, creating a risk assessment plan, right? That covers all of your needs, all of your necessities, all your regulatory needs and stuff like that. And then you assess the company against it, right? Obviously, you're going to want to have clear documented policies. So that way, there's no, the clearly communicate the requirements so that, the parts within your business understand and know how to structure their requirements, or when they're like, implementing changes or making changes, that they make sure that they don't make a change that then violates, whatever policy or whatever, right? Like, for example, you have a production system and you decide that, what, it would make the business perform 20% faster if we make all of the users, all of the production users passwordless, right? So that there's no need to put in a password, right? It just comes online and it's connected. Boom, right? No authentication, right? Sure, right? It could be, that'd be tremendously faster. Sure, obviously, right? It'd violate quite a lot of things. So that's my kind of like offhand example. Monitor cloud governance, and then right? Then you just monitor it, which I guess there would be some things that you can only do through assessments, and then there's other things that you can have constant monitoring about. Sure. So that's probably what that monitor cloud governance thing like more or less relates to. Considerations for defining a cloud governance policies. I'm really trying to think of how much of this do I really need to know. Everything, right? If you ask Microsoft, they said everything. Business risk, policy and compliance, and then the process. 5 disciplines. Define corporate policy. Can I copy this? I can. Because I can tell this one's going to be much harder for me. Oh, I didn't have OneNote already up. Damn. Slacking. Yeah, what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to, we're gonna break this down into new pages. So first off, this tab I'm gonna move it eventually and organize this better. But until then, Microsoft, Azure admin. Cert. All right, and then we'll have a new page here, and this is one, and this is going to be called. Can I? It should be. There's a thing here, right? That's letting me. They're not no, no. Why is there not a thing that there used to be a thing here that lets you? I guess not. Crazy. Wait, how did I just? We'll think about it another time. I really don't. I don't think about it right now. That's, that was kind of crazy, but all right. All right. So Azure policy initiatives. There you go. That's what I was looking for. Azure policy initiatives. And then how was I drawing a blank on that? Let's start with this photo. All right, because we know this is going to be important. I can tell this is probably going to be important. Not so much as this, but and this, right? Steps for cloud governance. So let me actually move this. Copy image. Steps for cloud governance. What happened? No? You don't. The image, right? I'm going to copy the image and I'm going to paste it. Are you serious? Like, why? What is Microsoft just like, no, you shall not. Like, ho, you better give me my photo. Right? Yeah. Because I don't need like this written down. I know what I can know just by reading the titles, just what each part is. Considerations for defining cloud governance. The key considerations when defining cloud governance policies. Key considerations when defining cloud governance policies. I'm gonna trim that down in a second. Yeah, see, it was that light, bro. That light was just too bright, bro. You couldn't do anything. All right, key considerations for defining a corporate governance policy. And then I just want this, right? I just want business risks. Business risk, policy and compliance. Process. You must establish processes to monitor violations. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. And then, oh, cool. And then this photo actually applies with that, right? And that's all stuff like that. I actually understand. Cloud governance for Azure policies. Azure's primary governance tool is Azure policy. All right, last bit of this energy drink here. Or just make your brain great again drink. Azure's primary governance tool is Azure Policy. Azure Policy facilitates the governance of all resources, including current and forthcoming resources. Helps enforce organizational standards and to assess compliance at scale. by establishing guardrails across various resources. I cut my cheek. That hurts. The zero policy allows for centralized management, allowing you to track compliance status and investigate changes leading to non-compliance. You can consolidate all compliance data into a singular repository, which simplifies auditing processes for effective cloud compliance and resource governance. I'm going to read that one more time. Allows for centralized management, allowing you to track compliance status and investigate changes. Yes, okay, I understand that. Consolidate all compliance data into a singular repository, which simplifies processes for effective cloud compliance government. Resource compliance dashboard offered by Azure policy represents an aggregate view of the environment's overall state. Right. I guess what was throwing me off is just like consolidating all compliance data into a single repository for effective cloud compliance and resource governance. That doesn't. I don't know why those. It's like two separate things that don't necessarily, not necessarily exclusive to each other, right? Having all the data in a single repository doesn't seem like it would necessarily simplify the auditing process itself. That doesn't. I don't know. I don't know why my mind is. Maybe I'm really overthinking it, but I don't know. It just doesn't sound. Something about it sounds off to me. Azure policy ensures consistent adherence to compliance standards and prevents misconfigurations. It also helps bring your resources to compliance through bulk remediation for existing resources and automation remediation. I could be missing something. I'm sorry. Remediation for new resources. Additionally, embedding Azure policy directly into the Azure platform can significantly reduce the need for external approval processes, thus boosting developer productivity. Right. So like if you had like restrictions that you need to make sure would be followed, you'd have somebody look over to make sure everything's in compliance. You no longer have to dedicate the person and like time to do that because you can have an Azure policy that just is enforced that makes sure that would make sure that the object in question complies with the requirement. Got it. Some useful governance actions that you can enforce with Azure policy include ensure that your team deploys Azure resources only to allow the regions, enforce geo replication rules to comply with your data residency requirement. Yeah, don't worry, guys. I think tomorrow. Well, tomorrow. Definitely tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll work towards updating the codec thing, because now that we understand the actual hard limitation, I just got to research what specifically, because this system right now has a 3070. I can't wait for my 5090 if I get the chance to buy one. I just got to see what my 3070 hard limits are when it comes to the resolution and frame rates, and see what the problem is, right? So I also need to probably understand a little bit more about OBS's back end with regards to how it does the video thing, because the canvas is in 4K, okay, but the video output settings, these are settings in OBS, is obviously downscaled to 1080p. And my goal was in doing that was that when the day comes that I'm able to support 4K, right, the canvas is already set up for that. I just turned off the downscaling, right? What I don't know is if that means that there is a 4K workload on the GPU that's then downscaled to 1080, so that then both of those like apply as hits to the media encoder chip, or is it that the canvas is just in a resolution, and before it even starts working with that, it brings that resolution down on the GPU, which maybe is like less work. I think I don't know. I have no idea how it works. I have no idea how it works. I don't know if it's a full working 4K then downscaled, or it's a pseudo 4K that's downscaled before the full work begins. You know, like it's just stuff like that, right? And then remember, I have two streams going on at one time for this system, which is the horizontal and the one vertical. So you know, it's one of those things. I'm looking at this copy thing. This copy thing is going slow on these fake Chinese SSDs. It's gonna be a pain too for me to have to pull it out of that, but it's all good. Hopefully, actually, I need to check the date, and what I'll do is I might actually just wait until my replacements come in, and then that's when I'll take them out and replace them out instead of doing it. Because if I take it out now, then put the card back in, right? Then I got to take it out again eventually when the new ones come in, because I did order some new ones. Hopefully those come in within a week. I hope. We'll see. Anyway, some useful governance actions that you can enforce. Ensure that your team deploys those resources only to allow regions. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about, right? Like somebody would be the one physically checking this, but you don't have to do that no more, right? You can just have a policy do it for you. So let me just check and see what's this all about here. You have unused coupons. Want to make sure I didn't get no important, no important thing. I just don't like the money, man. But the thing is that if I don't buy the shit now, the shit's just gonna be more expensive later because some goddamn tariffs are gonna be coming in. Like, god hell, no, don't do it. This is not the stream for it. Don't say it. Continue. Let's continue. There's tomorrow's stream, okay? Politics. In some cases, their policy can automatically remediate non-compliant resources and configurations to ensure the integrity of the state. Other resources, for example, of all resources in a specific group. Yeah, that name tag. Yes, because you can use the policies to apply, just like the security group, right? The security group thing, right, can apply default stuff into the fields. Yeah, we remembered all of this. Okay. So you know what? I think the fundamentals does a really good job then, like give you enough information, because if it's just like more nuance and stuff, the fundamentals like gave you a really good foundation to just build off, because I remember all this clearly. It's just the specifics I just tripped myself over, like the goddamn assignment groups. I don't even remember the name. Regions, and why do I want to say accessibility? It's an A word. Was it assignment groups? I'm getting upset now. Was it assignment groups? Availability zones. It was an A word and I couldn't think about it, bro. I was like, hold on. I'm like, no. Availability zones, that's what it is. And if it's close on the test, when I see the word, I'd be like, oh yeah, availability zones, yeah, and it'll hit me. I don't have to worry about that. But I was just like, that shit with between the availability zones and the regions just being the only thing that just seems like this just differentiates the two is just 300 miles. But the ones required to be 300 miles apart or not, and the technicality that they have direct fiber connections on the availability zones. But anyway, neither here nor there. Let's continue. Introducing the Azure Resource Manager, control plane. Azure policy operates a control plane and enforces rules of compliance of your resources. Azure Resource Manager. God, get my time. Manages all control plane operations in Azure and includes the different components that are centralized between different services. The control plane. Right, these are your interfaces. This is how you're going to be interacting with Azure. And then, through the REST operations, they're talking about the API. So just the specific whatever pipeline connection, blah, blah, blah. Deploy on template, the policies, right? This is like all that stuff that's wrapped into the. Okay, so this is, what's crazy is that, and honest to God, this would be, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not that business oriented. This seems more or less a bit useless to me the way it's presented. Honestly, I don't know what I truly would even make of this information, right? Some of this stuff is just like a bit of a given, but and then it goes into the resources. So data plane. The data plane is where the actual data operations occur, and Azure policy ensures that the resources you interact. And I say all this, I'm talking all this shit, and then I'm gonna fail that for a test. I'm gonna fail the test. I feel like I'm gonna fail the test, bro. The data plane is where I can't wait to when I get to the the assessments, the on the website assessments here. We're gonna see how much of that heavy-ish I'm talking here. The data plane is where the actual data operations occur, and Azure policy ensures that the resources you interact with in the data plane are compliant with your policies. Data plane operations involve direct interaction with the data stored in a resource. I don't know why I took that deep breath. Continuing with the previous example, you engage with the storage account to upload and or download files. This interaction is handled directly by the data plane on the storage account rather than being managed by the Azure resource manager. So this would be important, right? The data plane is where the actual data operation occurs. Azure policy ensures that the resources you interact with in the data plane are compliant with your policies. So are they saying like if you had like if there was a data plane in like the United States but all the data is actually in China, you wouldn't want the data to have to travel to that data plane, which is in the US, to be processed before ending up back in China, I guess. Maybe that's what I'm getting out of that. Bro, my encoder is really like getting jacked up today, and I don't understand why, but I'm gonna ignore it. This interaction is handled directly by the data plane of the storage account rather than being managed by the user resource manager. Data plane operations are limited to REST API. Requests are made directly to data endpoints for services. For example, accessing data amongst Azure storage, querying SQL database, blah, blah, blah. Each Azure service handles these requests internally, bypassing Azure resource manager and directly managing the data through its resource provider. Service-specific access controls such as often manage data plane permissions. The service responds with the data or result of the data operation showing that the requester has the correct permissions. Their policy allows individuals Azure services to implement Azure policy extension and enhance the policy behavior integrating with specific. Okay, Microsoft Kubernetes data used for managing Kubernetes clusters and components such as pods, containers, and ingress. Key value data. We could talk about Kubernetes. I don't want to deal with Kubernetes. Microsoft Network data used for blah, blah, data factory, machine learning services, operation flow of Azure Manager resources. Okay. Brownfield, Greenfield. Azure Resource Manager, create, update, compliance, scan, read resource provider. Okay, sure. Where the Azure policy first exists. Oh, man. When you're creating or updating Azure, you create a new resource by calling an API manager that is targeting a specific resource provider, the resource manager. The request goes through different layers, including role-based access controls or policy. These layers are only two of the many other layers, but it's important to understand there's a policy after. Understand that Azure policy comes after RBAC. If you don't have permissions to run a given operation, or Azure policy isn't considered or called because it would fail on the R backstage. Right. Permission to do something. Permission that the end result of what you're doing is compliant. And then it doesn't. Okay. Sure. Azure policy resources. Azure policy enforces organizational standards and assesses compliance at a scale. It evaluates Azure resources and actions by comparing their properties to business rules, providing an aggregated view of the environment's overall state. This policy allows for detailed analysis down to each resource at policy level with granularity. 6 policy resources are available in Azure, and multiple different concepts apply to these Azure policy resources. Define policy logic and effect, initiatives, assignments, exemptions, attestations, remediations, definitions. Definition describes resource compliance conditions and the effect to take if a condition is met. 707 is determining which resources are evaluated by any Azure policy. Share initiatives. Azure policy initiatives, also known as policy set, allow you to group several policy definitions to simplify an assignment. You know what? All right, there go my email. This is Firefox. You know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about Edge. You know what? I'm doing this like I don't have. Do I even have it on this computer? That's a good question. I want. I don't have it on this computer, so let me